Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is another children's story that I wrote on one of my shamanic journeys where I travel out of time, like most of us do who do this practice. So I hope you enjoy it. And the idea the spirits gave me was to have children understand the tenets of shamanism, the beauty of this path and the beauty that it brings to the world. So this story is called The Hare and the Fox. Once upon a time, so long ago, no one really can remember how long, except the animals. There was a place, a planet really, all orange colored with pink-orange smoke all around it. It would have been the sun if the sun wasn't already in the sky. That's how bright it was. Yet different because of these pink-orange clouds all around it. Prehistoric animals lived here. One in particular was the giant hare. He was 4 feet tall and bright orange colored. An amazing creature, really. Quite gentle, big, beautiful rabbit teeth, fluffy orange tail, and green eyes. He truly was a sight to behold. His whole family looked like him, as all the ancient hares of this time. Our rabbit's name was Harold, and this story is about one of his adventures on his planet with a monkey friend of his. One day, Harold was playing with Sam, his monkey friend. Sam was an ancient monkey also. He was 3 feet tall and bright red with white circles on his tail and around his eyes. He had blue eyes. Quite a striking young monkey for his age. These two were great friends, and one day they were bored, as young animals often get in the middle of summer, and Sam bet Harold that he, Sam, could win a race against Harold. Sam thought he was better equipped to go across the lands as he could swing from trees, which would be a great advantage as long as there were trees. So Harold, being curious about this possibility and having nothing to do at the moment, said, "Okay, Sam, but to make this interesting, let's travel for 5 days, turn around, and see how long it takes us to get back. Let's make this a real contest." Sam scratched his head, ran around in circles, which he did often when he was thinking, and said, "Yes, what a brilliant idea. We should have enough time to really tell who's the fastest." "When do you want to leave?" Harold said. "Well, let's pack some food and take off." So Harold and Sam went home to their families, told them what they had in mind, which of course was not taken well with either of their mothers. They said, "No one has ever left the villages. We don't know what's out there. How do we know you'll be okay?" Harold and Sam told their moms it was an adventure, and this is what they needed to do to grow up and face challenges and to trust them and believe they will be fine, and if they're not back in 10 days, to come looking. So their moms packed lots of food, and they met at their favorite spot, a huge tree with a big knot in it where an owl lived. They decided to ask the owl what he thought of this idea, just in case he had some great advice. You know, elders have so many more years of living, usually filled with information about life. The owl looked at the two of them with sleepy eyes, wondering who was bothering him in the morning, ruffled his feathers, sat upright, and in this ancient voice said, "Follow the sun, see where it takes you, and have the sun at your back on the way home so you won't get lost." They both thought this was great advice and easy to follow, so they thanked the owl and proceeded to get on with their journey. Sam, being so familiar with vines and swinging, chose his path with the most vines and took off in a flurry. Harold, on the other hand, just started hopping along toward the sun through the ancient forest, packed with beautiful, huge trees. and trunks almost as big around as a dinosaur's belly. As he was passing this one really old tree, and he could tell it was old as it had all this gray hair-like fringe hanging from its branches. Trees only got that when they were at least 1,000 years old. He heard the tree say something to him, or he thought he heard the tree talking. This was all new to him, as he never heard the trees talking, or he never focused on his surroundings long enough to listen. There was this whisper, "Harold, come closer." So Harold went over to the knot in the tree, and he could hear the tree saying, "Harold, we've been wondering when you'd be coming this way to look for yourself in the world." Harold, not sure what he meant by that, says, "What does that mean?" The tree said, "Sometimes it's important to leave places that are familiar to find out what you're made of, who you are, your qualities." He thought maybe he could ask the tree for some advice for his journey. And the tree offered, "Be a good friend to everyone. Treat everything with kindness. Everything has a spirit soul." Harold rubbed his ears and decided to remember this, as it might be important later. After all, it came from a tree over 1,000 years old. Something that has seen so much of life, having stayed in one place all that time, has seen lots. Harold thanked the tree for the advice, but before he could leave, the tree added, "We're proud of you, Harold. You're not so different than us, you know. We're all family, as we live together on this planet, and what happens to you will affect us in some way as well. So journey well, and know the trees are your friends. Ask for help if you need it." Whereupon some acorns fell from the tree for Harold's snacks later. He thanked the tree again and moved along further through the forest. As Harold was following the sun, he spied a fox peeking around the corner of a tree. He could tell it was staring at him. The fox was his size, and this made Harold nervous, as foxes usually like to eat rabbits. So he stood very still, and the fox came over and said, "Wow, you're the biggest rabbit I've ever seen." Harold said, "Well, are you going to eat me?" The fox laughed and said, "You're way too big. Where are you going?" Harold said, "I'm following the sun to see where it takes me." The fox said, "Could I come with you? I promise I won't try to eat you. You seem like someone I could be friends with. I know lots of things. I'm clever, and I could show you amazing things in the forest." Harold thought for a while, wondering what it would be like to have a friend that would have wanted to eat him at another time. Could he let his heart open for this? He wondered. Finally, after a few minutes, Harold looked at the fox, remembering what the tree had told him about treating everyone kindly, and said, "It may be difficult to trust you in the beginning, but I'd like to try. Sure, you can come with me. What's your name?" "Felix," said the fox. So the fox immediately took Harold down this huge hole in a tree that had them tumbling seemingly forever in the dark, rolling and tumbling, turning up at the other end of the forest near the water's edge, and a beaver home. The beaver turned around as they rolled out of the tree, looking surprised. He said, "Hey, how you doing?" Fine," said Harold, a bit shaken and feeling turned around. The fox just scurried next to him and sat down, saying, "What a ride. I just love that tree." Harold looked around and found the sun to be at the other side of the river in front of him. Wondering what to do, it was as if the fox read his mind, saying, "Hey, Beaver, could you help my friend Harold here? We're on a journey to the sun and now in need of a way to get across the river." The beaver broke into a huge smile, showing those amazing teeth, and said, "I've only lived on this river, and was wondering what other rivers looked like. My name is Bucky. What do you think? The rabbit looked at his new friend the fox and decided, why not? We all have special gifts, and together it will make the trip easier. And you never have too many great friends. So they said, yes, and thanks for helping us. With that, the beaver set to chipping away at the fallen logs, and in no time there was a sturdy raft in front of them, and thankfully the sun ahead. They all crossed the river, looking at the fish and wondering what life must be like for them, breathing water and not walking on land, or eating acorns, or playing in holes of trees, and decided it was the same but different. Watching the fish made them have a great feeling of closeness to everything around them. As they got off the raft, after securing it to the other side around some reeds, they made off for the sun, and through the bush they came upon a baby elephant. Everyone stopped to talk to the elephant, and wouldn't you know it, the elephant had never been very far either and wanted an adventure. The elephant, whose name was Raspberry Moon, named after the color of the moon when she was born, said she could do her part by carrying everyone when they got tired. Well, that sounded great to Harold, Felix, and Bucky, as they figured there were many miles ahead of them, and she seemed friendly enough, so they all invited her to come. Raspberry, for short, was thrilled. She left a note for her family and took off with the gang. Into the sun, into the sun, into the sun we go. They were all singing as they went, until the sun started to set and the sky got darker and darker. Finally, after walking what seemed like 1,000,000 miles, they all decided to camp in this beautiful meadow that seemed to know them, because when they started walking towards the place, the meadow made big, beautiful beds for them from the grasses, and all of a sudden a campfire appeared in the middle. They all looked around to see if anyone was in the meadow doing this. No one. So Harold called out to the meadow, "Was that you, Miss Meadow, making our camp?" In the breeze from the meadow through the grasses, they all heard this whispery, "Yes," along with, "We're watching over you. Sleep in peace. Enjoy the journey. Be friends. Remember the important things. We are one." Everybody looked at each other with the most astonished look, and instead of questioning what happened, simply said, "Thank you very much," and promptly went to sleep. Harold felt the warmth on his face first. It must be the sun waking us up. So he turned to see if anyone else was awake. No, they were all sleeping, and as Harold stood up to stretch and think about making some hot tea, the meadow started the fire in the bonfire pit again. Harold looked through his pack for the special herbs he brewed for tea in the morning and started making a big pot for everyone. Felix and Bucky started to stir, as did Raspberry. Everyone was stretching and waking up. As they slowly gathered around the campfire, Felix and Bucky started saying how wonderful it was to be on this journey, and especially meeting new friends. How lucky they were to be part of this adventure. Raspberry chimed in also, nodding her trunk. After breakfast, just as they were thanking the meadow for allowing them to stay and making the bonfire for them, a very excited baby brown bear showed up, looking very agitated. She was shouting, "Is there a Harold here? Please tell me. I have a message from a friend of his." Harold ran towards her and said, "Why, yes, I'm Harold. What's wrong?" "Well," she said, "do you have a friend named Sam?" Yes," says Harold. The bear said, "He's in some quicksand in the jungle. I've tied him off with a vine, but I don't know how long it will hold him." Harold paled and said, "How far are we from him?" She said, "About an hour." So they all looked around, and Raspberry said she could move the fastest, and everyone climbed onto her back, and she started to run through the meadow into the jungle. The bear got on as well, and everyone was hanging on for dear life to each other as they were bouncing up and down. Harold told everyone to visualize Sam, his friend, hanging on to the vine, and the vine being very strong. He said he learned this from the trees on his way out here. Harold said the trees told him they would help him if he asked, so he called out to the vines, "Please help our friend Sam at the quicksand pond. Hold strong, we are coming to get him. Thank you." In the wind, they heard a high-pitched whisper saying, "We will take care of Sam. He is our friend too." Harold knew that all would be well. The trees don't lie, and they are all family. So he felt much better. In no time, they were by the side of the quicksand pond. It seemed a tricky place and sticky situation to get Sam out. Sam was so grateful to see them that he started to jump up and down, which only made matters worse and sunk him down to his neck. Harold yelled, "Don't move, Sam. We're going to get you out." They all talked about it and came up with a plan. The beaver went to work on a small tree to make a pole, and they lowered it down onto the vine, and they all held onto each other as Felix walked on the tree out to Sam to lend a hand. He scurried out there just as Sam's head was starting to go down. He grabbed his arm out from the quicksand as it was still on the vine and pulled, but he needed more help. So Harold wrapped a thick vine around himself and walked out there to help Felix. He got hold of Felix and started pulling Felix back as Felix was pulling Sam up. As soon as Sam was fully out of the quicksand, they all fell backwards onto the log and carefully backed up and scurried back to land. "Wow, that was scary," said Sam. Thank you so much. If you hadn't come, I would have drowned in that stuff. I don't know where it came from. I was swinging through the trees on a vine, which then broke. And the next thing you know, I was in this stuff. It was awful. You all are such good friends. How can I ever thank you?" Harold hugged his friend, and as he was doing this, Raspberry gathered some water in her trunk and sprayed them both in her effort to clean Sam up. It was very funny and helped everyone calm down. Harold introduced Sam to Felix, Bucky, and Raspberry. In the excitement, Harold remembered that he didn't know who the baby bear was. Sam introduced her as Maple. It was lucky she just happened to be passing by when she heard Sam yelling, "Help me, help me." So all's well that ends well. Everyone decided to go back to the meadow, camp for the night, talk about their lives, their ancestors, and head back to their homes in the morning. They all decided after talking through the night about their experiences with the help of the meadow's wisdom that the whole trip was just that, the journey. They learned about themselves, how brave and caring they could be, and open to new friends. They learned to trust friends that before would have been scary, and just being in the world together was the best ending. The end. I hope you enjoyed it.